Grave Torture 2024, directed by Joko Anwar, is an Indonesian psychological horror film that delivers a thought-provoking yet uneven exploration of trauma, faith, and the human condition. While it is marketed as a horror film, Grave Torture delves deeper into the philosophical and emotional aspects of belief systems, especially when shaped by personal tragedy. The film is based on Anwar's earlier short film of the same name, and features an intense storyline, rich with dark atmospheres, but suffers from some narrative inconsistencies and pacing issues. The movie follows Seda, played by Faradina Mufti, a woman scarred by the loss of her parents in a suicide bombing. Her experience causes her to become deeply skeptical of religion, particularly the idea of divine punishment after death. In her quest to prove the non-existence of torment in the grave, a concept within some religious beliefs about sinners, posthumous suffering, Seda decides to lie inside the grave of a notorious sinner. This risky decision sets off a series of terrifying events that blur the lines between skepticism, faith, and supernatural horror. Her brother Adil, Reza Rahadian, plays a significant yet understated role, as both siblings grapple with their trauma in different ways. What makes Grave Torture stand out initially is its commitment to mixing psychological horror with religious doubt. Anwar uses the idea of grave torment as a symbol for broader societal and personal anxieties about morality and suffering. The first half of the film, praised for its slow, character-driven approach, builds tension effectively, making viewers feel Seda's psychological descent. It touches on themes of guilt, grief, and the search for meaning in a world of chaos. However, as noted by several critics, the movie loses its footing in the second half. What begins as a taut, suspenseful psychological study unravels into more traditional horror fare, relying on jump scares and ghostly apparitions that feel disconnected from the film's earlier thematic concerns. The shift in tone from a thought-provoking thriller to a more generic horror film leaves viewers feeling somewhat disoriented and dissatisfied with the overall narrative arc. The movie's final act, in particular, becomes more focused on grotesque imagery and visceral horror than on the philosophical questions it sets up in the beginning. One of the film's strengths is its visual style. Anwar is known for his ability to create eerie, atmospheric environments, and Grave Torture is no exception. The use of shadows, claustrophobic graveyard scenes, and disturbing imagery of decaying bodies enhances the sense of dread. The movie also features stunning cinematography, courtesy of Aikal Tanjung, which captures both the beauty and terror of the Indonesian landscape. Despite its uneven narrative, the film's aesthetics and mood are consistent and haunting throughout, ensuring that even when the story lags, the visual experience remains engaging. While Grave Torture touches on themes of faith and disbelief, it doesn't always fully explore them. Seda's crisis of faith, while compelling, is never fully resolved in a satisfying way, and the movie's stance on religion is left ambiguous. Some viewers may appreciate this open-ended approach, but others may find it frustrating, as the film seems to shy away from the deeper exploration it promises. Critics have pointed out that while the movie has a lot to say about personal trauma and faith, it often undercuts its message by leaning too heavily on conventional horror tropes towards the end. The performances, particularly from Faradina Mufti as Sita, are strong. Mufti conveys a range of emotions, from grief to determination to fear, making Sita a sympathetic and relatable protagonist, even when her actions are questionable. Reza Rahadian, who plays her brother Adil, is solid but somewhat underused, with his character's development taking a backseat to Sita's journey. The supporting cast, including Slamet Raharjo and Christine Hakim, add depth to the film, but their roles are often overshadowed by the main storyline. Ultimately, Grave Torture is a film that will likely divide audiences. Those who appreciate slow-burn psychological horror with a philosophical edge may find much to admire in Anwar's direction and the film's early scenes. However, viewers looking for a more consistent horror experience may be disappointed by the film's uneven pacing and reliance on familiar genre conventions in the latter half. As one critic put it, the film bludgeons your head with a mace, but it takes a moment to get there, reflecting both its ambition and its tendency to meander before delivering its big scares. In conclusion, Grave Torture is an ambitious horror film that blends psychological and supernatural elements with mixed results. Its exploration of trauma and religious skepticism is intriguing, but the film's uneven narrative and tonal shifts prevent it from fully realizing its potential. For fans of Joko Anwar's previous work, especially Satan's Slaves,